What's up, everybody? It is like 30 minutes after I just posted my last video. I've been out here still working away on this floor. I just got the floor partially into the car. I'm gonna finish putting it up there. I'm gonna show you where I'm at now, but I'm doing this entirely by myself. So yeah, I'm a little winded. It's kind of heavy and awkward to maneuver to get it in here. So my floor is in here at a pretty steep angle, but I had to get it back past behind here. So now I'm going to pick this up, slide the floor forward, figure out where I need to cut the firewall, and go from there. All right, so it keeps raining and stopping and raining and stopping on me, so I think I'm going to stop right now. But I've got the floor somewhat fit. It still needs to go forward some more, but I need to clear out for where the wheel well is, and I need to trim the whatever I'm doing with the firewall. I need to figure out what I'm doing with the firewall, but I got to make sure that I leave this main cross support, because that's what's going to determine my steering and all that and where this sits. So what I might do is, instead of taking that front support to where it's sitting 2 inches out, I may leave it 2 inches back, and that's how I'll section the dashboard together. I don't know. I'm still playing with it. I haven't decided exactly what I'm doing yet, but I've got the floor sitting almost exactly the same as where it was when, or where the Veloster floor was, because these rear seat mounts are at the exact same height as the original rear seat mounts. This is the original cross beam, and then this is the cross beam that's on the floor now. Obviously nothing's put in place or anything like that as far as welding it in or bolting it in or anything, because I'm still cutting and trimming and fitting. But I'm gonna keep trying to work this thing forward a little bit more and get it to line up exactly how I want it. But all things considered, it's coming along pretty freaking good. So it looks like I'm gonna have to chop right along here, but it looks like the floor can come down a little bit, maybe another 1/4 of an inch, which I need so that I can get the brake booster to clear. As long as I can get the brake booster to clear, I don't give a crap about any of the rest of this stuff. I just got to make sure that the brake booster clears. So we'll see what happens. All right, so I've managed to get the floor to fit a whole lot better. The firewall is hitting the Veloster firewall, but what I'm looking at doing is I'm actually looking at cutting straight across here, all the way across, and then using the Veloster firewall. And then I'll just weld that firewall onto the cross beam. All right, so I've got it fitting a little bit better. I still have to do some more modifications to get it to fit, but everything's going along exactly how I'm planning it. So we'll see how it goes, but looks like everything's gonna work the way I want it to. The floor is looking like it's gonna line up pretty damn good. I got to do some more fitting and whatnot, but I'm making progress. All right, everybody. So I've been doing some cutting and fitting and grinding and whatnot, and I've got the floor to where it is almost where I need it. I need it to go forward another maybe 1/2 inch, maybe a 1/2 inch. Yeah, about a 1/2 inch. I need it to go forward about a 1/2 inch. And once I get it to go forward about a 1/2 inch, everything should seam out good. Now, what I'll wind up doing is I'll weld this together, and then I'm going to put a plate over top of it and weld it. But this is overlapped. I'm going to use the factory seam. This is the factory seam right here. So I'm going to weld this. This is overlapped. This is going to be butt welded. And then I'll put a plate over top of it. That it'll be pretty considerable size. It'll be probably all the way to the wall over here, and then to about the middle of the footwell. Just to do a good overlap and give it some little bit extra structure. And I'll wind up doing the same thing across the top of the firewall on... No, because that's where that cross beam is. I don't know. I'll cross that bridge when I get to that part. But for down here, I'm going to do a plate over top of it on the top and on the bottom. And then I'll do undercoating on the outside, and I'll do sound deadening on the inside. All right, so now I've got the rough fitment of the floor done. And I must stress, this is rough. I'm going to have to do a lot of fit and finish to get this to match up and to get the firewall to match up to the cross beam. But it's a work in progress. It's going to take a lot of just patience and bending and welding and cutting and making stuff fit. But I've essentially got the floor where I need it to be. Firewall is sitting where I need it to sit. So now I can get my final measurements to do my final cuts on the firewall and on the cross beam. So I've got the original Veloster firewall sitting just above the cross beam for the Genesis floor. Everything should match up. I'm still gonna peel this piece off. That's why it's just peeled out like that. So I'm gonna peel this piece all the way across here off. And then that's what I'm gonna weld to this. So yeah, it's gonna take a lot of work to get this all fitting the way that I want it to fit, but I think everything's gonna work out. It's gonna take a lot of hammer and dollying, but it should work out in the long run. So we'll see how it goes. Okay, so I've got everything. I've done all my figuring as far as what I need to put back together before I start welding the floor in and before I start fitting the floor to the firewall and all that kind of stuff. So what I need to do is I need to weld both of these front plates back onto the firewall. One of them goes here, one of them goes there. I need to weld all that in, get that in there, and then trim it off with the firewall at the same time. And I'll fit it to the floor, and then I'll trim the floor firewall after I get the firewall welded back in with these plates, and I'll lay out a template and get my marks so that I can cut everything exactly how I need to. Then I will hammer and dolly everything where it needs to be. It's going to be a long, tedious process, but that's the way I have to do it. So that's the way I'm going to do it. All right, so I'm working on welding these front plates back onto the firewall. I've got that one a pretty good bit of the way welded in. I still have the whole top edge of it to do, and then a couple ones, and then right around the brake booster. And I still have to do this entire panel right here. But I just ran out of welding wire, so I got to go get some more wire. I'm going to finish welding that in, trim off the bottom of it, level with what's already cut off on the other part of the firewall. And then I'm going to set the floor in here, get it trimmed out, and start welding the floor in. I'll hopefully have this floor in I don't know if I'll have it all the way in, but I'll have it a good majority of the way in by the end of the day. Okay, now I have the firewall fit about 80% of the way. I'll have to fix right here, over there in that corner, and down that side. But everything else seems to be fitting pretty good. I'll have to bend this to get this to match up here because it's down a little bit. Same on that side. You can see it a little bit clearer over there. But the floor is at the same height. It's at the same position, front to back. And everything's lining up as far as I can tell for what I need to do. So I'm going to weld this back together, and then I'll start cleaning up all these freaking nasty welds and get this thing looking a lot better. So just checking fitment on everything, and it looks like my brake pedal and gas pedal are way too close to each other. So I may wind up having to make a new brake pedal and clutch pedal to shift them over and give myself a little bit more foot room. All right, everybody, so I've been out here working away on this thing, trying to get the floor completely fit. I've got the firewall completely trimmed to fit the floor. I've got the floor fit into the firewall. I've actually got it welded to the firewall. I've got the floor welded to the body. So let me flip this around and show you where I'm at. Mind you, this is still very rough. I'm still in the fabrication process. This is not gonna look clean in any way, shape, or form. So there's still a ton of work that has to be done after this point. I don't want anybody to think that this is how I'm leaving it, because it does look very bad right now as far as finish quality. But I'm still fitting and welding, and I ran out of welding wire, so I got to go up to the store and get another spool of wire. I figured I'd do an update while I was stopped so that I can go do that. So this is where I've got the floor currently. I've got it spot welded in a couple spots here, a couple spots up there. I've got it welded across the front of the firewall in the center. I'm gonna do a butt weld here and trim all that and get it to fit, trim all this and get it to fit. Same thing over there, I'll trim it to fit and trim that to fit and trim that to fit. That's why I say I've still got a lot of work to get this completely finished, but I wanted to give an update while I've got it, while I'm at a stopping point. So I've got the entire front supports for the pedals and for the clutch pedal, brake pedal, AC, heat, and all that kind of stuff. So all that stuff's back in. I just got to clean up where all my spot welds are. And then I got to finish welding this in. And once I get that finished welding in, I'm going to start test fitting the dashboard and the center console and the clutch pedal and brake pedal. I'm going to try and make sure I got all that squared away and got the dash and the center console working. And once I get all that squared away, then I'll start putting the frame rails and the motor into the front of the car. So I'm pretty sure that's where I'm going to stop for this video. When I pick back up on the next video, I should have all the welding on the floor completely finished. The floor should be welded in. It won't be completely, all the welding will be done. The finish of the floor will not be done, but the welding will be done. I'll still have to grind a bunch of stuff down, put in my reinforcement plates that I'm going to put over top of my butt welds. Because wherever I did a seam weld where they're two pieces of metal butted together and I do a butt weld right there, I'm going to do an overlapping reinforcement plate on the inside and the outside, on the firewall and on the floor, anywhere where I butt welded it, just to make sure that I have extra reinforcement. And now this car, when I'm done with it, I will never sell it to anyone. If it ever goes to anyone, it'll stay in my family, because I've cut and modified so much stuff on this. If I was to sell it and somebody got in a wreck in it and they got hurt, I would not want to have that happen. So even though I'm putting a full roll cage and all that, I'm removing all the airbags out of the car. So and with all the modifications that I've done, I can't take that risk of liability. So it'll only be me or somebody in my immediate family that drives this car when it's done, strictly because of the liability issue. But with that being said, I'm going to stop here. I'll pick back up, get the floor completely welded in, and then in the next video, I'll probably be fitting the dashboard and the instrument cluster and the center console, try and make sure I can get all that working and get all that to fit into the car correctly. Once I verify that all that's going to work, my pedals aren't going to interfere with anything, my steering's going to hook up and all that good stuff, then I'll move back to the front of the car, up here to the front. And I'm horrible at aiming my camera, but I'll move back up here to the front and I'll start fitting my frame rails. So I got the frame rail down there on the floor, or on the ground right there. And then I'll start cutting this frame rail out, fitting that lower frame rail that's on the ground in, and start getting all that working and get the subframe in there. Once I get the subframe mounted, I'll actually set the motor into the car and make sure that the core support and all that stuff's going to fit in there without any issue. Once I get the motor in there and the subframe bolted in and the core support and everything in place, I'll put the fenders on it, headlights, radiator, and all that good stuff. Make sure the whole front end's bolted together with the engine in there, so that I can make sure everything's going to clear what it needs to clear. So yeah, hope you enjoyed this video. Like I said, I'm still making progress. It's a slow progress, but it is progress. I'm only able to work on this on the weekends and after I get off of work. Now that it's getting warmer and it's staying sunny a little bit longer, I'm able to pull a little bit more hours on these things during the day, but it's still not that much. So I'm moving along at a pretty good clip. I think I'm actually moving faster than I anticipated. So I'm pretty happy with how it's going. But we'll see how it goes when I continue on. So like always, thanks for checking out the build. And if you would, please give me a like, follow, comment, share, subscribe, whatever. Show your friends what I'm doing, and we can continue to have this channel to grow. I appreciate everybody coming back and checking out the build, and thanks for all your support. I appreciate it. And don't forget, I still have Shade Tree Store .myshopify.com. That's where I've got some merch at. I don't have a lot right now, and I'm not expecting big things from it, but I've got a couple shirts right now. I will be putting two more designs onto the website, probably tonight or tomorrow. One for my Audi build, actually probably two for my Audi build, and then another one with the same. And then within like the next week or two, I'm gonna have one for the Veloster. So anybody that's trying to give me a little support on this Veloster project, that would be a great way to show your support, would be to pick up one of those shirts. And I'm trying to make them as cheap as possible, but with still good quality. So yeah, thanks for checking me out, and I'll catch you in the next video. Have a great one.